What's going on, everyone, and welcome to The Cause. My name is Rob, and today we are discussing books 11 and 12 of Paradise Lost. This is the last video in the Paradise Lost series, and we'll conclude the poem. As we wrap up this marvelous poem, forgiveness, love, fear, sadness, grief, and joy, books 11 and 12 will make you experience them all. I will set the stage on where we are at, then we will move into the last two books of Paradise Lost.
Maybe you got lost somewhere, swimming too far off the beach.
Book 11 Overview. The Son of God hears the prayers of Adam and Eve, and he presents the request to his Father. God accepts the prayers, but declares they can no longer live in the garden or paradise. He sends the angel Michael to evict them from the place, but also to show Adam visions of future things to come. Michael leads Adam up to a high hill and shows him all the visions of the future. One vision includes a lot of water. Let's move into book 11. Adam and Eve are low in spirit, low in the sight of their father, or so they believe. To heaven their prayers flew up, nor missed the way by envious winds. Blown vagabond or frustrated they passed, dimensionless through heavenly doors then clad, with incense where the golden altar fumed, by their great intercessor came in sight before the Father's throne. The Son of God hears these requests, and he presents them to the Father. He takes the case for the fallen humans and mitigates on their behalf, which God, out of respect for his Son, it appears, agrees to most of the things. But there are some stipulations. To whom the Father, without cloud serene, all thy request for man, accepted, Son. Obtain, all thy request was my decree. But longer in that paradise to dwell, the law I gave to nature him forbids. God says you can live a little longer, but you are not going to be doing the living in paradise. Sin cannot be in the presence of holy ground. God also explains the new way to a second life. Listen to this beautiful explanation he tells his Son that the humans will now have to pursue. I, at first, with two fair gifts, created him endowed with happiness and immortality. That fondly lost, this other served, but to eternize woe, till I provided death. So death becomes his final remedy, and afterlife, tried in sharp tribulation, and refined by faith and faithful works to second life. Waked in the renovation of the just, resigns him up with heaven and earth renewed. That's an intense passage, and God is not backing down. Sin has consequences, and payment, it's due. But it's not good deeds or sacrifices that will gain a second life. It's simply having faith. How could they mess that up, right? Jesus says, yes, sir, and he turns to Michael, the angel waiting nearby, and he says, load your angels up. You have some news to deliver to the poor souls on earth. It is eviction day. The Son of God tells them the reason, and it really sets the stage for what has occurred. Like one of us, man is become to know both good and evil, since his taste of that defended fruit, but let him boast his knowledge of good lost and evil got. Happier? Had it sufficed him to have known good by itself and evil not at all? He sorrows now, repents and prays, contrite. The Son of God is shooting it straight. He's not beating around the bush about what is about to happen. I mean, they may soon find the tree of life, which was beside the tree of knowledge, and then they may live forever. The Son of God tells Michael, haste thee, and from the paradise of God without remorse drive out the sinful pair, from hallowed ground the unholy, and denounce to them and to their progeny from thence perpetual banishment. The Son tells Michael something I thought was strange. He said, if they handle the news well and do not get all hysterically emotional about getting kicked out, to tell them what the future days will look like after they are dead and gone, to reveal to Adam what shall come in future days, as I shall thee enlighten, intermix my covenant in the woman's seed renewed. So send them forth, though sorrowing, yet in peace. I mean, what better way to rub salt in the wound? Because it will show Adam that they not only messed up their lives, but they brought sin and evil into all their descendants. But notice the Son of God mention how he plans to save them. Hopefully, this will give some peace to Adam and Eve after being forced out. Michael and the angels prepare to descend down to meet Adam. And Adam and Eve are still apologizing and praying and asking for guidance. They seem to be over the shock of what has occurred, and it does not appear they are expecting anything more to really happen to them. They believe death will come, but it could be far off. And Eve has a quick line that shows they are already becoming okay with how they are living. In replying to Adam, she says, "Here let us live, though in fallen state, content. We're good, Adam. Things may be a tad worse, but nothing too bad." And I love how Milton checks her statement in the next passage. He says, "So spake, so wish, much humbled Eve, but fate subscribed not." Fate is indeed about to correct the issue. Adam notices that nature is starting to change around him. The birds are getting quiet, animals are starting to turn vicious, and he notices an object in the sky approaching. And Adam tells Eve he's going to go out and meet their new guest, and Michael is the guest, and he is not there on pleasant business. He ironically appears in the shape of a man, which I thought was strange, almost as if the humans were not even good enough to be in the angel's presence anymore. He's armored up, purple cape around him, and a helmet upon his head. Listen to this description. His starry helm unbuckled showed him prime, in manhood where youth ended, by his side. As in a glistering zodiac hung the sword, Satan's dire dread, and in his hand the spear. Adam bowed low, he, kingly from his state inclined not, but his coming thus declared. Michael is about to lay down the law. He's not bowing or showing respect or wasting time with the how you doings. The crying is about to ensue, and the tears are going to flow. But longer in paradise to dwell permits not. To remove thee, I am come, and send thee from the garden forth to till the ground whence thou wast taken, fitter soil. He added not, for Adam at the news heart struck with chilling gripe of sorrow stood, that all his senses bound. Eve, who unseen yet all had heard, with audible lament discovered soon the place of her retire. Fitter soil for sinners, not allowed to work on holy ground anymore. The two do not take it well. Adam seems to have expected it, but Eve is crushed by the news. She goes on to worry about her flowers and who will tend them and how much time she has spent raising them. It's like two spoiled children being told they must go make it on their own for the first time. And listen to the entitlement of Eve here. How shall I part, and whither wander down into a lower world? To this obscure and wild, how shall we breathe in other air, less pure, accustomed to immortal fruits? And I love the advice Michael gives here, because it shows how for granted they took everything and missed the big picture of who paradise was actually for. In a mild, calm manner, Michael appears to help her understand. He says, "Lament not, Eve, but patiently resign what justly thou hast lost, nor set thy heart thus overfond on that which is not thine." I love that. Do not allow your heart to be attracted to worldly and material things that you do not own. All can be taken away, and we must come to terms with that sooner than later. We come in with nothing, and we will return as such. Michael tells her she will be going with Adam, and he says you must follow him this time. And where he lives, think that as your home. There is much to take away from this section. Adam, in my opinion, has been growing as a man since coming to terms with the consequences of eating the fruit. I think both Adam and Eve realize that the life they are about to enter will force both of them to work together to survive, force them both to grow up. What Adam says next proves that he is not only accepting his fate, but he's accepting responsibility. And if by prayer, incessant I could hope to change the will of him who all things can, I would not cease to weary him with my assiduous cries. Adam is submitting to the will of God. Michael then moves on to fulfill the commandment that the Son of God gave him. He tells Adam to follow him up the hill, and he is about to show him how the future will be. The angel has Eve fall asleep while this conversation takes place, and Michael removes the film from Adam's eyes and instills 3 drops from the well of life. It knocks Adam down, and Michael takes his hand and he raises him up. He is about to raise him not just physically, but to a more enlightened state. The original crime and the disobedience will have a ripple effect on Adam's offspring. From the first sin derives the corruption that will consume the world, inherited side effects from man's initial sin. The first vision is related to Adam, and I will go through each one quickly as there are many. Knowledge of the Bible is crucial in this aspect, and even knowledge of some books that are not included in the Bible, such as Enoch. This shows that Milton is pulling from beyond just the scripture. Adam sees 2 men sacrificing their offering on an altar, So the first vision is one of the first stories of the Bible. They become disgruntled at one another, and one picked up a stone, smote him in the midriff with a stone that beat out life. He fell, and deadly pale groaned out his soul with gushing blood effused. Much at the sight was Adam in his heart dismayed, and thus in haste to the angel cried, O teacher, some great mischief hath befallen to that meek man who well had sacrificed. Is piety thus in pure devotion paid? Adam is shocked. He is in horror that something like this could occur. But further details, once revealed, will affect Adam personally. Michael says those two are actually brothers, Adam, and they will come from your loins. They are your children. Remember, Adam ate from the tree, and he wanted this knowledge. To know is sometimes worse than being in the dark. And listen to Adam's realization of death here. Alas, both for the deed and for the cause, but have I now seen death? Is this the way I must return to native dust? O sight of terror, foul and ugly to behold, horror to think, how horrible to feel. Many in this world do not get the luxury to pass in their sleep. Some in pain, others in trauma, others in sickness, some fire, drowning, and famine. There is a line here that made me think, and I loved it. Michael says that there are many shapes of death, so listen here. And many are the ways that lead to his grim cave, all dismal, yet to sense, more terrible at the entrance than within. More terrible at the entrance than within. The hurt, pain, fear, and action of death lasts for such a short time compared to the everlasting slumber that follows. It's such a good line. Adam sees his second vision, which is honestly just as horrible as the first. Michael explains that death will mostly come from intemperance, from having no self-discipline over what you eat and drink. You can enjoy in the moment, but the diseases that accompany this gluttonous life will create a monster of death, all because of Eve's inabstinence. Milton sears this image into your mind here, and just listen to the world that Adam and Eve will be walking into. Before his eyes appeared sad, noisome, dark, a lazar house it seemed, wherein were laid numbers of all diseased, all maladies of ghastly spasms or racking torture, qualms of heart-sick agony, all feverish kinds, convulsions, epilepsies, fierce catarrhs, intestine stone and ulcer, colic pains, demoniac frenzy, moping melancholy, and moonstruck madness, pining atrophy, marasmus and wide-wasting pestilence, dropsies and asthmas, and joint-racking rheums. Dire were the tossing, deep the groans, despair tended the sick, busiest from couch to couch, and over them triumphant death his dart, shook, but delayed to strike, though oft invoked, with vows as their chief good and final hope. Sight so deformed, what heart of rock could long dry eye behold? Death and sin, the two servants of Satan, are working their magic on earth, killing and corrupting everything in sight. And Adam is in tears. Uncontrollable emotions are taking over, and reality is setting in. Their sin is not just going to affect the two of them. They have unleashed Pandora's box on the world. And Adam says, O miserable mankind, to what fall degraded, to what wretched state reserved? Better end here unborn. Why is life given to be thus wrested from us? We are back to questioning God again. Faith is being tested. How can you accept responsibility, Adam, if you do not want to accept life? Michael reminds him who and how this all came about. Do not blame God for your ungoverned appetite. You decide what you eat. Adam yields and he submits, and he asks a very logical question. Is there an easier way to die than by sickness and being smashed in the head by a stone? There has to be a more pleasant method. Michael comes back and he says, most certainly. And his response is so simple and probably one of the best rules you can live by in life. He says, there is a way to die more peacefully. If thou well observe the rule of not too much, by temperance taught, in what thou eatest and drinkest, seeking from thence due nourishment, not gluttonous delight, till many years over thy head return. Respect your body, make wise decisions, and just live by the rule of not too much. Do we live by this rule today? In a weird way, abundance and sin have almost become synonymous. A third vision is provided for Adam, which is a vision of sexual pleasure between a group of men and a group of women. It's the vision of Cain's offspring. Now, Adam does not see anything wrong with this, as there are not any clear laws to what is right and wrong yet. But Michael shares with him this knowledge. Judge not what is best by pleasure, though to nature seeming meet, created as thou art, to nobler ends, holy and pure, conformity divine. Those tents thou sawest so pleasant were the tents of wickedness, wherein shall dwell the race who slew his brother. Studious they appear, of arts that polish life, inventors rare, unmindful of their Maker, though his Spirit taught them, but they his gifts acknowledged none. Beware of the groups of people in life that value what they create or desire more than God. Nice things that feel good can be wicked. Adam pities the people, and as he tries to put the blame on Eve by saying it began with her, Michael corrects him. From man's effeminate slackness it begins, said the angel. Who shall better hold his place by wisdom and superior gifts received? Do not blame woman for your weakness as a man to choose between right and wrong. The fourth vision takes place. The vision appears to be from the book of Enoch, which is not included in the Bible, but referenced heavily in this poem. Adam looks out and basically sees a world of cities, towers, and war, and a besieging army. There is carnage, carcasses, and death all over the place. One man stands up and listens to this exchange. In factious opposition, till at last of middle age, one rising, eminent, in wise deport, spake much of right and wrong, of justice or religion, truth and peace, and judgment from above. Him old and young exploded, and had seized with violent hands, had not a cloud descending snatched him thence, unseen amid the throng. Again Adam is taken back, astonished at how wicked and evil the world will become. He asks who was the one man that was taken, and Michael tells him what he witnessed was the age of the giants that mixed with humans, and that the man who was standing up for good amongst all the evil was someone 7 generations from Adam. This would be Enoch he is referencing, to whom walked with God and was no more, for God took him. That line is out of Genesis. A fifth vision is now shown, which happens in the time of Noah. Prostitution, rape, and civil broils have plagued the land, and Noah begins to prepare a vessel for some special mission: depopulation, extermination, a new covenant, death, and destruction. Out with the old world and in with the new. Adam does not take this all very well. He says, "Better had I lived ignorant of the future." Do you think this is torture, showing Adam all the evil that is going to occur because of his actions? Is the justice being dished out a little extreme for simply disobeying and eating some fruit? What all was truly lost with such a simple lapse in judgment? So how will people live in this new world after the flood? The same way they live now. Listen to this line. For the earth shall bear more than enough, that temperance may be tried. So all shall turn degenerate, all depraved. Justice and temperance, truth and faith, forgot. Book 11 ends with the sign of the rainbow and the covenant between God and man. All hope is not lost, but there is still a long road to travel to reach salvation. Let's move into the last book, Book 12, which will close out Paradise Lost. I'll set the stage real quick and give a quick overview, then we'll dive into the story and of the eviction out of paradise. Michael continues relaying to Adam visions from the time of the flood to what will succeed. We discuss Abraham and the start of the bloodline that will lead to a virgin woman giving birth, an incarnation, a death, and a resurrection. At last, the ascension and the state of the church until his second coming. Adam is content. Eve wakes up, and Michael leads them by hand out of paradise. Let's begin. Book 12 begins with Adam and Michael still on the hill chatting about what the future will behold. One world has just ended with the flood of Noah, and a new world is about to be revealed, and the people after Noah will start off moral and good. And Michael says, listen here, Adam, but as the population grows again, immorality and sin will creep back in. Greed is correlated with the size of population, it appears. The people will start to build a tower to rival heaven, but God says not so fast and puts a stop to it in a very unique way. He confuses the languages, and the work on the Tower of Babel is halted. Michael then tells Adam about Abraham and the importance of this man, not so much in his time, but to whom will come from his genealogy. In referring to Abraham, Michael speaks, "By that seed is meant thy great deliverer, who shall bruise the serpent's head." From the seed of Abraham would be Mary, and from Mary, the Son of God would enter earth as man. Michael then continues through the stories of the Bible from Abraham. Joseph being sold by his brothers and his trip to Egypt. He discusses Moses and the freeing of the Israelites from bondage. Adam is confused about why the laws were delivered to Moses, and Michael explains it very well here. The law that will be given to Moses is not to remove or end sin. Michael is hinting at the fact that our track record as humans is not too good in terms of following the law. I mean, come on, Adam, you had one single law to follow, and you failed. Doubt not, but that sin will reign among them as of thee begot, and therefore was law given them to evince their natural pravity, by stirring up sin against law to fight, that when they see law can discover sin, but not remove, save by those shadowy expiations weak, the blood of bulls and goats, they may conclude, some blood more precious must be paid for man. So the law will not be perfect. The 10 Commandments are not the end-all be-all. They are a start, a recognition of what is right and wrong. But something else must occur to conquer the sin Satan has poured out onto earth. Think on this next passage and read it a few times and let it sink in. This is the first step, in my opinion, of regaining the paradise that was lost. See what you think. So law appears imperfect, and but given, with purpose to resign them in full time, up to a better covenant, disciplined, from shadowy types to truth, from flesh to spirit, from imposition of strict laws to free acceptance of large grace, from servile fear to filial, works of law to works of faith. The law matters, but just following the law would not achieve the outcome you are desirous of. Faith will start to enter the picture. Do you truly believe in grace, the beauty, and the power of God? Michael then mentions Joshua, the conqueror of Canaan. We then move through David and King Solomon, the banishment to Babylon and the return from it. Michael quickly covers the rest of the Old Testament and stops right after mentioning the birth of Jesus. The Son of God is now a man on earth. Adam is starting to feel relieved. It's like there is finally some hope in this long story, this hopeless, evil-filled epic. The poor dude has been hopeless for quite some time. The power of women come back into play here, and if we think about it, Jesus comes back to earth without the help of man or the sex of male, basically. God and woman team up, and to me, this is it rights the wrong of the original sin. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is tasked with the responsibility of taking on the pain of first sin. What this woman must witness, know about, and see is beyond understanding. Adam states here to Michael in a voice more excited than he has been in a while, "Now clear I understand. What oft my steadiest thought have searched in vain, why our great expectation should be called the seed of woman, virgin mother hail, high in love of heaven, yet from my loins thou shalt proceed, and from thy womb the Son of God most high, so God with man unites." Michael says something next that clarifies what is about to occur. The Son of God and Satan are not going to fight. It's not like a duel that is going to take place. Michael says this about the coming of Jesus. "Not by destroying Satan, but his works in thee, and in thy seed. Nor can this be, but by fulfilling that which thou didst want, obedience to the law of God, imposed on penalty of death, and suffering death. The penalty to thy transgressions due, and due to theirs which out of thine will grow. So only can high justice rest apaid." Apaid is Old English, and it means pleased or satisfied. And Jesus is not coming down to conquer Satan, but the works of Satan. He is removing the two demons, sin and death, that Satan unleashed upon the world a few books back. Death still exists in earthly form, but Jesus erases the sin, conquers death by his resurrection, and provides a path for his followers to live in eternity. This is probably the most important part of Paradise Lost, because this is the repair. Jesus is sewing up the wound that was created so long ago, and many things will change from this point on. Let me read this one section to you real quick, as it's just so beautifully written. "The law of God exact he shall fulfill, both by obedience and by love, though love alone fulfill the law. Thy punishment he shall endure by coming into the flesh, to a reproachful life and cursed death, proclaiming life to all who shall believe in his redemption, and that his obedience imputed becomes theirs by faith, his merits to save them, not their own, though legal works. For this he shall live hated, be blasphemed, seized on by force, judged, and to death condemned, a shameful and a curse, nailed to the cross by his own nations, slain for bringing life, but to the cross he nails thy enemies, the law that is against thee, and the sins of all mankind, with him there crucified, never to hurt them more, who rightly trust in this his satisfaction. So he dies, but soon revives, death over him no power shall long usurp, ere the third dawning light return. The stars of the morn shall see him rise out of his grave, fresh as the dawning light. Thy ransom paid, which man from death redeems. Both of Satan's hellhounds are bound by Jesus. And Michael says, this act shall bruise the head of Satan, crush his strength, defeating sin and death, his two main arms. Sin still exists now, but the debt is paid, and death still occurs, but it is only earthly. Sin and death are conquered. After Michael finishes telling the sequence of events that follows, Adam asks, but once Jesus returns and the disciples are left down here on earth alone, won't they be destroyed by the enemies of truth? And if you look up what happened to the 12 apostles after Jesus died, and you'll be astonished at what these men went through. Some were boiled alive, some were stoned, crucified, and I think only one died of natural causes, but that was after being tortured as well. Michael mentions the gift of the Holy Spirit, which will provide help to those spreading the message of Christ. There is a line in the poem that is just amazing that comes next. Milton really tied all this together so well here. Michael, speaking about the disciples, says, their ministry performed, and race well run, their doctrine and their story written left, they die. But in their room, as they forewarned, wolves shall succeed for teachers, grievous wolves, who all the sacred mysteries of heaven to their own vile advantage shall turn, of lucre and ambition, and truth with superstitions and traditions taint, left only in those written records pure, though not but by the Spirit understood. That last line is amazing. Can you truly understand the Scripture without divine help? And the wolves, they show up everywhere. Michael says the world will go on a long time like this. As the truth is tainted with traditions, superstitions, and rituals, it will grow unrecognizable. Truth shall retire, be stuck with slanderous darts, and works of faith rarely be found. So shall the world go on, to good malignant, to bad men benign, under her own weight, groaning. Adam wonders how long all this will take and realizes that only the one probably knows. He learns a valuable lesson, and he says this one line that is powerful. Henceforth I learn that to obey is best. Wisdom is finally starting to show in Adam, who, up until the last book or two, has been very naive. The angel says, it is good that you have learned this wisdom, but hope no higher. That got you in trouble last time. And the advice the angel gives him next is something that stands the test of time, and we could all benefit from living like this. Find the paradise within. Michael provides some wisdom to Adam here. Only add deeds to thy knowledge answerable. Add faith, add virtue, patience, temperance, add love. By name to come called charity, the soul of all the rest. Then wilt thou not be loth to leave this paradise, but shall possess a paradise within thee, happier far. You can still be happy, Adam, but it's not going to be free anymore. You will have to adjust your life in a way, as just mentioned, to possess it. At this point, the lessons are over. They're about to descend the hill, wake up Eve, and get kicked out of paradise. When Adam meets Eve, she tells him God was basically with her in the dream while she was sleeping, and she's not trying to delay anything and is eager to follow along with Adam to whatever waits. She mentions by her the promised seed will restore. So it appears that things have been revealed to her in her dreams as well. The cherubim and the brandished sword of God is moving and waving. Time is near, and the angel grabs the two sinners and he leads them to the east gate, east of Eden. And as they walk out into the plain, the angel disappears. And to end, I'm going to read the last few lines that closes out the poem. It's so good. They, looking back, all the eastern side beheld of paradise, so late their happy seat, waved over by the flaming brand, the gate, with dreadful faces thronged and fiery arms. Some natural tears they dropped, but wiped them soon. The world was all before them, where to choose their place of rest and providence their guide. They, hand in hand, with wondering steps and slow, through Eden took their solitary way. Wow. Paradise Lost is such an amazing poem. Is it theology? Is it epic poetry? Or is it a romantic novel? It's everything. It's a masterpiece that Milton has created. I will do a summary and a review and my takeaways in a separate video, as there's things I've learned about the poem that I kind of want to add in, and there's resources that have helped me kind of understand it a lot better that I want to share as well. So I truly hope you have enjoyed this 6-part series of Paradise Lost. Again, I'll follow it up with a takeaway video soon. I really took my time with this poem and put a lot into it, as I really wanted to understand it, and I'm honestly glad I did. I've been working on this poem for months now. If you would like to purchase some of my coffee, please check out my link in the description below. You can use the code THECAUSE for 15% off your first order. I truly appreciate you watching. Please share if you enjoy this type of content. Like, subscribe, do all that as it helps the algorithm. Please leave a review or comment down below as I would love to hear your thoughts on Paradise Lost. That being said, Paradise Lost is complete. Now we are on to Paradise Regained, and then we cover Samson. Exciting times ahead. Drink some amazing coffee, read some great books, and I will see you very soon. I love you all. Stay blessed.
Woo! I was making lots of noise, busking on the city streets. I came back from Brooklyn, but you didn't come back for me.